Confrontational. Hi, welcome to my channel, and today we're going to be talking about special needs parents and being confrontational in an educational setting. That sounds good. Yeah. Okay, that's what we're talking about today. Just say how to say it or anything. Okay, are you a special needs parent? Make this into like a promo commercial type of thing. Are you a special needs parent? Have you ever struggled with communicating your needs and your wants to an educational professional, and problems keep coming up and they just don't seem to fix themselves, and you don't have the strength to say anything about it? I'm here to help you. No, seriously, have you really been in that point where you have your special needs child? You know what they want, you know what they need, you thought you had a communication with the teacher and the OT and all those people that help and everything, and then you start to see a problem, and then that problem becomes either different problems morphing into an even bigger problem, or the same problem happening over and over and over again, and you just can't really happen to tell the teacher, like, hey, I thought we talked about fixing this problem. I thought I communicated to you that I needed this problem to be fixed. Like, my son is like either suffering from this, or he's not liking it, I'm not liking it, I'm trying to communicate to you, like, and it's still not, either something's still not being done, or it's being done in a very slowly fashion, and there's like nothing happening. You feel that way. I've been in that situation, and I've come to notice, based from my family and friends and just, in general, that there are a lot of different types of parents, and none of it's bad. None of it. I think we just have different ways of confrontation, and I think you have to figure out which way of confrontation you are, and then embracing that you are that way, and then noticing that and being able to make little changes to fix for your child, because special needs parents, special needs children, they can't speak for themselves depending on what kind of condition they have. My son is autistic. He's 6, but he still can't communicate what he wants. Honestly, no, he can't. He can't tell you something hurts him. He can't tell you that he doesn't like what you're doing or anything like that. He can only tell you, I want, fill in that blank. That's what he likes. And if he can't fill in that blank because it's a new item or he doesn't know or something, he's going to fill it in with something else he thinks is right. And so that's all he can do. That means that I have to talk for him. I have to. And that means that the teachers talk for him as well when they reply to me every day with their notes. They're telling me how his day went, and I have to take them at that. When we hand our children off to school, and they're special, obviously, any child. I mean, I have my other son, Ezekiel, and when I hand him off, I have a different relationship with his teachers because of his status than the relationship I have with my Castiel's teachers because of his condition and his area of expertise and their area of expertise. I have a different relationship. Those are two different relationships with two different teachers, different schools, different conditions. Ezekiel, I say condition because he's normal. That's a condition. And then I see Castiel with his autism. That's his condition, that's his status, that's what it is. And so I have different expectations for them, and I have different expectations for these, teachers for Castiel. And so, I've been in those situations, and I am not a very confrontational person. I don't like to do it, but if I have to, I'm going to, because you know what? My son can't talk for himself. That means it's going to be me. So if you're not doing something I've already told you, several times, I'm going to fix it. But that's the thing. I struggle between finding that point of, well, now when do I put my foot down? When do I say something? I know what I want. I know what my son needs, but when do I, gotta say something, gotta do what I gotta do. Where on the other hand, my sister, my mom, my aunt, they're not afraid of confrontation. They know what they want. They know what their sons, what their kids needs, and they're gonna make sure that on that first IEP meeting, whatever meeting they're having for their kids, it's gonna be, this is what my son needs. This is how he needs it. This is what I also think he needs. Not sure. Let's hear your points. We're gonna make sure that these ones are filled, and if they're not filled with your points, we're gonna add new points to that. Okay, we've figured all of this out. I want to make sure that you understand if there's an issue. you have a problem, you don't like what I'm doing, you don't like what my son's doing, you're gonna tell me as soon as it happens. When it happens, we're gonna fix it right then and there so that it doesn't have to be a problem again. Does everybody understand this? Like, they're not mean about it. They're just straightforward and coming. Like, they say what it is they gotta say, and that's it. And if something happens with their kids that they don't like, they're gonna stay and they're gonna fix that problem. I don't feel comfortable doing that right off the way. I wanna give the teacher a chance to be like, hey, there's this problem I noticed. Do you think you can fix it? And what can I do to help you fix it, you know? And then it's like, I still see that problem. Or I see a different problem, and it's like, oh, I didn't know that that was even a problem. Like, you know? And then you have, you know, the other people who don't like confrontation at all. You know, they know what their kids need. They know what their kids want. You know, they thought they had an understanding with the teachers or whatever. They start to notice this problem. They kind of mention it. And then the teacher's like, yeah, we'll work on it. But the problem still keeps happening. They keep on mentioning it. And it gets to the point where they just kind of feel uncomfortable. Like, they feel like they're nagging the teacher. Like, hey, you know, this problem keeps happening. Are you guys like, it's hard for them to say something. So I think it's important for you to realize, what type of confrontational person are you? Are you, like, not afraid, willing to go straight forward, up to the point, letting them know, like, what you're about? Kind of like in the middle where I'm at, like, hey, I agree with you. I don't really want to get into confrontation, but you struggle between finding that point when you got to stick your foot down. Or are you that parent that's like, I don't like confrontation at all. These are professionals. They know what they're doing. Maybe I'm not, you know, maybe this really isn't a problem. I'm going to tell you something. Follow your gut. Follow your gut 100%. If you feel like something isn't bothering you, you have a problem, you're that person that doesn't like to do confrontation, or you don't know when to start the confrontation, or you're just straight up, you know, whatever, you think you have a problem, follow your gut. Your kid's on the line here. They can't talk. Maybe they can. You know, who knows? Whatever your situation is, follow your gut. Okay? If you think there's a problem, there probably is a problem. And you know, and it's not that the teachers don't notice it. Maybe they don't know, because you know, teachers don't know your kids 100%. So if you think there's a problem, maybe the teacher doesn't know there's a problem. Maybe the teacher does know and she's ignoring it, or he's ignoring it. You don't know. So if there's a problem, follow your gut and talk to whoever your child's teacher is, and just get it. Just talk. That's the first thing to doing this. And so also, if you're that confrontational type of person, you're not afraid of it, I think to modify that a little bit, you kind of just maybe want to heel back a little bit, because you can sound really aggressive and really mean. And you don't want to burn bridges right away. So, you know, and I think that's the one thing I struggle with, or maybe other people struggle with. I don't know. I don't want to be that parent. I don't want to be the parent that my son's teacher is going to be like, oh my gosh, Jenny, did you hear, you know, Castiel's mom, she is just all over here. She's always asking questions, you know, she's just, oh gosh, this lady. You know, I don't want to be that talking about parent. But I feel like sometimes that's what I have to do. I know it's not my intention, but my son is on this line. I'm going to make sure that he's going to get what he needs. So if I become that parent, then I become that parent. So don't be afraid to be that parent at all. But I think, like, of course, we're going to modify this. We're talking about modifications here. So if you are that straightforward parent, I would say just kind of heel back a little bit on maybe your tone of voice, maybe the choice of your words a little bit. I think that would be very, you know, something that could be helpful, because I try to tell my sister all the time, like, hey, you're sounding kind of mean. Calm down a little bit. Now that will become a little bit thing in between me and her then. But, you know, it's true. And then you have the parent like me, where I would say to modify it, I think just don't be afraid to put your foot down. If it comes to that point, don't be afraid to just say, hey, what's going on here? How many times do I have to keep coming here and telling you this, you know? Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to finally take that step into whatever problem that you're having. Now, if you're that person that's not very confrontational, I think to modify that, you're just gonna have to buckle down and just do it. You know, you're not gonna like it, but even if it's just like a quick, you're having a, like, let's say you only feel comfortable doing at parent-teacher conferences or something. If you're there and you have this problem, like, and it's floating in the back of your head, you keep thinking about it, just, spur of the moment, just, get it done. Hey, I noticed that this is a problem and I just really gotta fix it. Can we, I don't mean to just, say it. This is really bothering me. I've really noticed that this is happening. Can we do something about it? Like, in between. I don't care if it's talking about your son's drawings or your daughter's, greatness and we're doing very well and they're, things like that. Just stick it in there. You don't gotta wait till the very end where she's like, do you have any questions for me? If you want to wait till the very end and you just do it then. But if you think you're gonna lose your momentum, your strength, your confidence, just do it right when she's in the middle of the sentence. She'll understand, hopefully. He'll understand and morph that way. I believe in you. Anyways, I think also as well, if we want to be able to prevent any kind of problem happening, I think getting onto terms and understanding your child's teacher is very, very, very important. I think as long as you just sit down, we could always go during the, obviously when school starts, they have that meet the teacher, come to our classroom, open house, whatever type of thing. And it's kind of hard to get to know your teacher there if there's a bunch of other parents there. The teacher wants to get everywhere, things like that. But I think the most important thing to do is kind of just sit down with them and be like, hey, can we set up a meeting and just talk? And they should most likely say, yeah, that sounds like something that we can do. And literally just sit there and talk to them. And just be like, hey, this is what we're about. This is who I am. This is what my son is. This is what he likes. Things like this. And then ask them, like, where is your educational background from? What kind of jobs have you had before this? Do you have, like, any experience with this? Like, do you like kids? And then you got to be really upfront and, like, just telling them what it is. Like, what kind of assistants are you guys going to have? What are your protocols? What are your expectations of your assistants? What are the expectations for yourself? What happens when you get frustrated? I'm going to tell you right off the bat. When my son Castiel gets frustrated, he hits. He hits. That's just what he does. So I asked my son's teacher right off the bat, if he hits you, it hurts. What do you do in that situation? I'm telling you from my experience. My son has hit me and it hurts and I get, don't, yeah, that hurts, You want to, like, back in my day, if somebody hit me like that, I'm going to lash out, What are you going to do? They're kids. You can't do that. I don't do that to my son. What are your coping mechanisms for situations like that? What are your coping mechanisms when you get too stressed out, when you have a bad day, and it's barely 9 o'clock? My kid gets dropped off at 8:30, and so it's a hectic day. What are you going to do to handle it? These are real situations. I'm pretty sure she's dealt with them. I want to know how she handles them because I'm leaving my son with you, so I want to know what's happening. And so I think communication is number one without a doubt when it comes to your son and their teacher and preventing any type of problem that's going to cause confrontation to occur. So if you're not comfortable with confrontation, you kind of want to have to make sure that you can prevent it. And so I think communication is really key, and just making sure that you make sure that your teacher understands that line is open and it's, without any kind of judgment or anything like that. Because if you are going to judge and cause a big problem, then your teacher sometimes will feel like they can't tell you everything. And always being able to move on. If if a problem happens, if you can fix it, it gets done, and it's not going to happen again, don't hold on to it. It happened, but there's a solution. So let's just move on from that, keep it on, make sure it doesn't happen again. It's not easy peasy, but I think it's a really good thing. I struggle with it. I don't like it because, hey, if this problem happened once, what's to say that it's not going to happen again? And that's why I say I just got to keep my eye out. I got to keep my ear. And I think don't be afraid to get in the teacher space. I think that there's this conception that the kids get dropped off in the bus. Their teach parents aren't allowed, and then you kind of become that parent. I don't care. I want to see my son. I want to see how he is in action. My son, if he sees me in the middle of the day, I can't observe him because hey, I can't observe him. He's gonna get latched on, and when I leave, he's gonna think he can leave. Like, I can't do that. So when I drop him off and I pick him up, if I notice a few things, it's gonna tick me off. I'm gonna be like, hey, well, why wasn't I alerted that this was happening? I let you know that my communication line was open, not to feel, any kind of worry, any kind of fearness or anything like that. Like, hey, just tell me. And now I'm seeing something else different that you never told me. Like, what is happening here? So I think, surprise visits might be a good thing every day. Not even surprise visits, surprise drop-offs. You can see things like that. So, wrapping this up, don't be afraid to get confrontational. I think the main key to do all of this is to remember that your kid can't talk for themselves. My son can definitely do it. And if your child is nonverbal, or maybe they are verbal, but they don't know how to defend themselves, this can go for anybody, It doesn't just have to be for special needs. It can be for a normal kid too. With bullying, any type of thing like that. Oh dear Lord, that is one of my fears. Woo. We'll cross that bridge when it comes. I hope it never does. But hey, if that's something that you're dealing with, don't be afraid. And if you know that you are not liking that, and that's not the kind of person you are, then have the strength to do it. Because you gotta remember, nobody else is gonna speak for your son. If your daughter, your son can't talk for themselves, and you are not willing to do it, then nobody else is gonna do it. So that means whatever problem they're having, you may never know about it. You may never hear about it. And you're not willing to act on it, then that problem is gonna happen to your kid. And you're not going to know about it. They're not going to be able to tell you about it. The teacher's definitely going to tell you if it's a problem that they know is happening. So you got to take action first. So I think it's very important to remember that, hey, your kids are always, whatever's happening, they're feeling it. And I think it's such a scary thing as a parent, especially as a special needs parent, because you never know. And that's what it all comes down to, is you never know. They don't have cameras in the classroom. My school doesn't. So I can't see what's happening 24/7. And I think I want to get real honest. I think that was one of my fears, and most of it was sexual abuse to my son. I think that was a really, it's a big fear of mine, just in general. And so when we had my meeting with my teacher, I let her know, like, hey, do you guys vet any of these? Like, do you do background checks in your assistants? How many assistants are going to be alone with my child? Is my child ever alone with just one person? Who are your assistants? What are their experience about it? How are you going to do it with a substitute? Oh, because substitutes, they're not, what if they're not qualified to take care of my son? Are your assistants going to be able to handle that in that situation? And then if that's the case, what happens? What's the protocol? What's your protocol for things like that? So it's a really big fear of mine that that might happen one day. So I'm very vigilant. I always check my son. I always make sure I'm communicating with the teacher and all of that stuff. And don't be dissuaded from your truth. I think that's another thing that the schools try to do, because parents don't know. We don't know what's actually going on. And, they might be right. That's a school. We're not there 100%. We don't know how it functions. We don't know how it works. But if I have something feeling that there's something going on with my son, and I'm noticing other things, with the assistants or the teachers or something, my truth is my truth. So when it comes down to it, if I have to go to a meeting with the principal and the teacher, and I'm telling them, hey, I've noticed this at this time, and then my son is having this problem. And the teacher or the principal is like, yeah, but this, they start here, or this is happening. I'm like, okay, I understand that that's what should be happening, but I'm realizing this, and that's what I'm seeing. You telling me I didn't see what I saw? Are you trying to tell me that I'm not right? Because I noticed it. I saw it. I witnessed it. That's my truth. I'm telling you what the heck happened. Why are you trying to tell me that it's not? Why are you trying to twist the words or something like that? Stick to your guns. That's another thing. Stick to your guns. Rule number 2. just stick to your guns and just tell them like, hey, this is what I saw. You know, don't try to persuade me to something else. But yeah, I really hope that this helps, because I didn't know 100% what was going on. I've been in situations where I don't like the problems that's going on, and you gotta take the reins sometimes, and you just gotta do it. So that's it for today. I hope